Hello everybody, this is PI Health with another video. This time we're going to be discussing rent versus buy a home. We're going to be targeting the price range of Jacksonville. In Jacksonville, the average price is approximately $325,000. So, because of Jacksonville is $325,000 down in Florida, if you go to Tampa or if you go to Sarasota, St. Augustine because of historical districts and because of historical area, it has a tendency to be higher on the average price. So what happens? If you go down to Miami, for example, it's also could be higher, could be lower, but in Jacksonville, generally speaking, it's $325,000. So that's the beginning of the range, $325,000. If you go down to Daytona, it might be about the same. If you go to St. Augustine, it's maybe a little bit higher. If you go to Sarasota, it depends upon the area. But generally speaking, in Jacksonville, it's approximately about $325,000. That does not mean that there are not higher prices in Jacksonville. We are looking at the $400,000 targeted price. That means it's approximately $75,000 above the Jacksonville average price. So if it's $75,000 above the targeted price, that means we are also looking at interest rate of 5.5 and the term of 20 years. When I'm talking about the interest rate 5.5 and a term 20 years, all you need is a simple cell phone. You can look them up, mortgage calculator, and it's right there, no problems. So it's $400,000. You have $100,000 down payment. That means a $300,000 mortgage, which is approximately about $2,100 a month. Taxes on that is very interesting because it's usually within about $400 range in Duval County in Jacksonville. It could be a little higher, it could be a little lower. It depends. It depends on the area, and it depends on what and how much the prices are actually fluctuating within the area. There's a percentage of the way they calculate the taxes. So insurance, usually it's around $225 a month. Now we have one more, the dreaded HOA. Homeowners Association. Homeowners Association, for example, in my neighborhood, in my area, is $350 a year. Now, they have a tendency to be very rude, the Homeowners Association, because they are not there to help you, they are there to help themselves. That's why we kicked out one of our Homeowners Association. We just got together and we voted, and out they go. And we just threw them out. They were manufacturing paperwork, so you have to be very careful with the Homeowners Association whether or not they manufacture paperwork for their own interest. So that leaves us with a total of $2,725 because the Homeowners Association is out. Now, that means the total is $2,725 a month. Now, this particular property can be rented out within that zone that you are targeting, approximately about $3,000. So right now, the $2,725 is under rental. But now we got the problems. What are some of the problems? Okay, the problems that can occur is a brand new kitchen. Air conditioning, what's the quality of the air conditioning? After 15 years, usually, I would start thinking changing it. Updated bathroom, paint job, water filtration system. The water filtration system, for example, in my house, it cost me $7,000, almost $8,000. Why? Because I have a whole entire house water filtration system, number one. Number two, I have the AC filtration system with it that I purchased, and I have another filtration system that is actually under the kitchen cabinet. which is a four filter system. So by the time you add up all these filtration system, it can really add up the water filtration. The AC, it depends upon the who do you know, what do you know, but usually it's around $4,000 or $5,000 the AC. New roof. Does it need a new roof? Well, if it doesn't need a new roof, well, how much is it? Usually around, I'm going to round them up and I'm going to be thinking a brand new roof, let's say 2,000 square feet is about between $15,000 and $20,000. So that's not a small item either. Then you got the doors, the hinges, the faucets, the electrical, make sure that the electrical system is up to par. Then you have the flooring. Then you have the drainage and the tree. Let's say you have the drainage outside the street. Does it have a beautiful tree there? I had that problem in New York City. So what we did is every single year it had to be rooted out because the roots was growing into the drainage system, and if it grows into the drainage system, what will happen is that all that sewage and everything is just going to back up. So you got to really watch out for that. So black mold is very important. It depends where the location is. Is it you have a small retention lake? Is it next to the small retention lake or next to the lake? Does it have black mold in it? Does it have a window problem? Okay, if it has a window problem, how big of a window problem does it have? You have to inspect that. Because one particular window, I don't want to, well, okay, let me say it. For example, the Windows 70 series from Home Depot is a very high quality window. It's a very nice quality. It's about $600 per window. Do you want a new pool, for example? Is a new pool, you can get it up to $10,000 or 12 feet by 20 feet, half in, half out in the ground. And you can get a very nice pool for that amount of money, $10,000. Then you have another major problem right here. Electromagnetic field and radio tower. How close it is. You can actually measure even the electric seepage with the EFA meter, field meter. What happens is when you are measuring it, I was visiting a house. It was a beautiful house, beautifully grounded. High wiring was actually across the street, and I said something is wrong here. So I turned on my electromagnetic field meter. In my hand, no reading. Then I put it onto the floor. Wow, it went crazy because of seepage. The electric seepage was actually not grounded properly. So that's how you have to really watch out for that. Radio tower, you really have to watch out. So let's say this whole thing is approximately about, let's say $125,000, and then you want to incorporate that into your mortgage. That's about $800. $125,000, that's about $800. So now you're up to $3,525. Or you can buy the home and you turn around and says, well, let me see. Every single year I do something updated. But the problem is, you're going to be updating it. The first is going to be probably the roof. All right, then about 2-3 years later you do everything else. So when you're going to be turning around, the house is never finished. So, I mean, I don't know about that. I like to walk into the house where I don't have to do anything for about 10 years. I can forget about it. Maybe unless cutting a grass. And if you don't want to cut the grass, get a goat. So that has to be very important. So what happens is $3,525. So the $3,525 is your new total. That's way above the $3,000 rentable property. So that is absolutely not worth it. It is not worth it at all. So you think you're going to be a little smart. Okay. So because you're going to be a little smart, you turn around and say auction. I'm going to go to the auction block. Okay. So you go to the auction block. when you go to the auction cut to the foreclosure home listing of Jacksonville. All right. So you got to get the tax online property auction. You look at Zillow, drive-by, pictures, etc. Okay. So what are some of the pitfalls here? You got to look at the county record deed. You got to look at the title search, liens, home equity line of credit. Is it tax not covered auction? One of my friends of mine bought a house, and when he bought a house for $125,000, so something interesting happened. He lost $125,000 because the home had almost a $500,000 not tax covered auction. There was a back tax on that. Wow! And he thought he was smart. So you gotta watch out for some of these pitfalls. Now, of course, you also have some other pitfalls. So let's look at it. Well, now, porch balcony. Can you place a small solar energy on it, or to the backyard? A small solar energy, let's say a 2,000 watt. That's not so. The 2,000 watt actually covers one entire room, including air conditioning and the whole 9 yards. That's not that expensive, but you have to worry about the homeowners association. Are they going to allow it? Are they not going to allow it? All right. So you got to watch out there. Then, if you want a shallow water pump system, maybe 30, 40 feet. Maybe a 1.5 inch, 1.25 inch, or 2 inch water pump system with a Bison system. So you have to watch out for that. Then you have to watch out for the flood zone. Absolutely correct. If it's in a flood zone. Then we're going to turn around. Now we're going to get to something interesting here. The Senate Bill 4D. Whether or not it's a tofu building. Miami tofu buildings, not just only in Miami, but throughout the Florida state, because the standards were not up to par as the hurricanes and the insurance just going to be walking away. So some individuals have very, very high insurance because of that. And I guarantee you, the homeowners association is going to love you for that, because they're going to milk it. So you got to watch out for that when you're buying a condominium, or including if not a condominium but a home, on the waterfronts. So you got to watch out for that. So that's what I call the tofu buildings of Miami. Well, not just only Miami, I just named it Miami. But then you also have the tax stamp 40AB and Form C. The AB form, of course, is a long form, whether or not what you can or you cannot deduct. You cannot include that, so you have to watch out for that. Schedule C here is usually for a small proprietor, whether or not the homeowners association is going to stick their nose into your own garage. You're selling something, or you're parking in front of a house, or what you're doing to make sure that you're not in violation of it, because they call it the protective covenant. Now, what is this protective covenant? Protective covenant for them is to milk you, because it is in their right. So that's the terminology they use, protective covenant. I never knew there was such an animal outside of Bible, protective covenant. I just learned that from them, because I had to pay a $1,000 fine. But all right, that's another reason they got kicked out. So all these aspects of it. So when you are looking at all these aspects of it, you wonder why individuals actually go to the suburbs and they just buy a very, very high quality, yes, mobile home. Because they will not probably have to deal with all this. Well, can you blame them? Can you blame anybody? Of course not. But if you want to be in a major city, like Jacksonville, Miami, Tampa, major city, oh yes, Sarasota, or anywhere in the world, This will work anywhere in the world. Rent versus buy. For example, in China, if you really look at the tofu buildings in China, which I mentioned before, they have a tremendous downfall of the prices. Just boom, plummeted. For example, in Hungary, because I was born in Hungary, the prices of the homes is approximately about 40% to 35% above rental. Is it worth it? Well, I don't think so. Not to buy, but to rent. But they don't have enough rental properties in those countries, some of them. So you gotta watch out, and you have to watch out also if you go to the Philippines, for example. Can you own land and property? No. Condominiums, yes. So you gotta watch out that too. Rental also important there. All right. And also the condominium, you have to watch out in the Philippines too, because it's 20. You cannot be owned by 20%, more than 20% of the property owned by foreigners. You really have to look around, not just in the United States, but also in a foreign country. Will this work in a foreign country? Yes, it will. But you have to watch out. You have to be really up to par on these things, and it's very simple to look up the mortgages. And also there is one thing that I excluded here that I should mention: $100,000 down payment. If you take that $100,000 and you place it in the Ginnie Mae, Government National Mortgage Association, it will also give you interest. And let's say on a 20 years, that $100,000 is going to become approximately about $200,000. For $200,000 monthly income from the Ginnie Mae would be approximately about $500 a month. So if you rent the property actually for 20 years, that is $500. That's $2,500 minus of that. So you're really behind the 8 ball here on that one. And I haven't even added that to that. Because don't forget, it's $100,000. It's not a small chump change. Well, it's time to add and subtract a couple of things from this buy to rent. Okay, so let's say if you're buying a handyman special in Detroit, for example, buy versus rent, of course that's thrown out on the window. And also there are some other aspects of it. For example, I mentioned it earlier that $100,000 is right here, and then what you can do with it is you can invest it in Ginnie Mae. The problem is not with the Ginnie Mae and the 20 years, but that money is going to be evaporating if you're using it toward rent, and you're not building up equity. Of course, that portion is understood. Also understood, if you really look at Detroit, that's why I bring it up, because Detroit used to be 1.6 million individuals living in that city. Now it's under 100, let's say about 900,000. So it's just under a million. So you're talking, some individuals put it 9.5. It's irrelevant, so about 600,000 individuals out of there, moved out of the Detroit. So let's look at it from another aspect of it. When you have a Democratic mayor, you have a Democratic city council, and they are talking from the heart, or they are talking as include just about anything and everything in there, heads up, you just might have to move from that city. So it can become a mess. If you're really looking at LA, Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, well, and of course a few other major cities. So if you have a Democratic mayors talking from the heart and inclusive, time to leave the city. So that's basically it on the handyman specials. It can be really pay up and can be very profitable, but you really have to know what you're doing on that one. So as I said, rent versus buy under those circumstances just goes out on the window. All right, with this particular note, thank you very much for listening and have yourself a wonderful day. Thank you.